Well, the White House is not only the scene of, multiple grifting crimes, but apparently now it's a Tesla dealership. I mean, I don't know what timeline we're on, but I fucking hate it. And I wish to be on another timeline. Like whatever portal we opened, I want it to be closed. I want it to be um cemented over, never to be opened again. This shit just gets increasingly wild and outrageous by the day. And I say that knowing that it's actually extraordinarily dangerous where we are. Like I want to laugh to find some type of levity. But as you can see from the very clear fucking bags under my eyes, I'm not well. And none of us are well. So, folks, it is a fucking time. Somebody, and we're about to go into eclipse season 2. Mother Nature got jokes. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. Let's get into it. Hello, damnation, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show, where, folks, I'm just out here every single day trying to make sense out of motherfucking nonsense. Like, that's just where I am. On a personal note, I am not sleeping well, and there is just not enough concealer and touch ups to make these bags go away. But I will tell you that, the abduction and of Mahmoud Khalil has sent my nervous system like into a frenzy. The tepid reactions from fucking Democrats have sent my rage through the ceiling. And the fact that the place that I deem important, sacred, inspirational, a place that matters, the White House, has been turned into a fucking Tesla showroom today. And it's only Tuesday. Do you know what I'm saying? So I am just, I'm in a place. So let's just jump in, shall we? Donald Trump. For the love of fucking God. I wish that people had believed him when he said, I am going to be a dictator on day one. And he had joked, oh, just for a day. But no, he meant that shit wholeheartedly. I would like to look for the people who said that this wasn't going to be that bad. Oh, we survived the first term. All will be well. We are 7 weeks in, and I feel like we are circling the fucking drain of Dante's Inferno right now. Mixed metaphors, don't care, lack of sleep here. But when we see this, which comes on top of essentially putting out a bat signal to the world that America no longer abides by the Constitution of these United States that says that we have the freedom of speech and freedom of the press. But when Donald Trump says on his broke down social media platform that Tesla boycotts are illegal, so we have to, right, pad the pockets of the ultra rich, like that's our only, right, like directive in life, is that if we are choosing to put our money elsewhere, that somehow that is an illegal act. If I'm choosing to vote with my dollar alongside my values, Donald Trump is now saying, no, that's what the left-wing illegal, like, lunatics are doing. So what do we learn from this statement by Donald Trump? The boycotts are working. The showing up and protesting at Tesla showrooms is working. Now, while the stock may have ended a little bit up today because of, Donald Trump's fucking infomercial in front of the White House, I do believe that Tesla will continue to bleed money because Elon Musk is a white supremacist leech on our society, on the globe, and that people have had a fucking enough. So this is where we are. On Tuesday, several Tesla vehicles were parked in the driveway of the White House for Trump to pick which vehicle to buy, accompanied by Musk, who, by the way, was not in a suit. And I thought that was like a big deal for Republicans, but I guess that only matters if you're fighting a war, do you know? In August 2024, a podcaster gifted Trump a Cybertruck. By the way, Donald Trump also admitted he can't drive, right? Like, so again, just the showmanship. He's going to give it to his staff to drive. Sure. But this is what he posted on his broke down social media site. Quote, Elon Musk is putting it on the line in order to help our nation. Putting what on the line? He has no fucking skin in the game. What is Elon Musk putting on the line? Aside from our 401ks and our Social Security and our kids' education and healthcare, and what is he putting on the line? So he goes on to say, and he's doing a fantastic job. Yes, I guess if your job is to, orchestrate a coup to overtake our government, yes, he's doing a hell of a job. But the radical left lunatics, as they often do, are trying to illegally and collusively boycott Tesla. Again, my man, I don't have to spend my money where I don't want to spend my money. It's my fucking money. Yesterday, he told people, right, stop talking about the price of eggs, like buy a chicken. And today it's, oh, fuck your eggs, buy a Tesla. It's only $35,000. Where are you in the realm of reality? If the average American is complaining because the cost of a carton of eggs is $12, $13, where does it make sense now to make the leap to buying a Tesla? Anyway, he goes on to say one of the world's great automakers and Elon's baby, in order to, is this baby number 15, 16? Like, what the fuck number is this? And do harm to Elon and everything he stands for. He stands for white supremacy. He stands for South African apartheid. He stands for anti-Semitism. He stands for anti-blackness. He stands for transphobia. So, yes, we are coming for everything that he fucking stands for, because we want him to sit the fuck down. I'm on one today, folks. Forgive me. I cannot.
Trump buying a new car, while there are some folks who will see this clip at home and they are struggling with their retirement accounts down at the moment, uncertainty about work ahead.
Well, I think they're going to do great. I think our country had to do this. We had to go and do this. They've taken away, other countries have taken away our business. They've taken away our jobs. I did it initially very strongly against, as you know, China and some others in the first term. And it was a very successful term. We had no inflation. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And then we had COVID, which we had to straighten out.
What? What? Donald Trump in his first term added $7 trillion, $7 to $8 trillion to the deficit with his tax cuts to the ultra wealthy. He left the economy in an absolute fucking tank and just now blamed it on COVID, which he exacerbated because he chose to tell people to inject bleacher light into their bodies instead of covering their nose and mouth in order to stop the spread of COVID, which resulted in over 500,000 deaths by the time he left office, none of which he's ever been held accountable for at all. And then today, he also said that he inherited a terrible economy from Joe Biden, which we all know is an absolute fucking lie. But again, no media pushback, what have you. And I'm surprised because this question came from the idiot at Fox, Ducey. He's like, you're buying a new car, and there are some folks who will see this clip at home and they're struggling with their retirement accounts, right? Down at the moment. Trump, well, I think they're going to go great. Our country had to do this. Did it? I don't think so. Not according to where the markets are, the volatility, the instability, and the fact that we are on the brink of World War III. I'm pretty sure we didn't have to do this. You didn't have to engage in a trade war with our allies that has resulted in 1.5 million Americans having an increase in their electricity bills because the mayor of Ontario went and said, yeah, so we're going to add a 25% tariff to electricity. And if we have to, if Donald Trump keeps ratcheting up the tariffs, I'm going to cut the whole shit off altogether. So then Donald Trump says, oh, well, now we're in an electricity emergency. Are we? Or are you just fucking stupid? We're expecting that the man who declared bankruptcy multiple times over to somehow fix the economy of the country, and in 7 weeks, the fucking dollar has lost value, people have lost money in their 401ks, and everything is spinning out of control, but you had to do it? Y'all, on top of which, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has canceled $1 billion in local food purchasing for schools and food banks. Question, how do you justify that? Agriculture Secretary, the program wasn't essential. Yes, it's definitely not essential for children and the poor to eat. Yes. You know, I understand now why movies like The Hunger Games were so popular, right? Like, because it just basically is an exercise in greed, in control. And of course, you know, in the Hollywood ending, like the poor, lowly people win in the end, but like not without revolution. I don't think that they cast votes, right, in order to win here. But when you look at all of these movies that are so popular about resistance, it always ends with revolution because there is only so much that the people can take. I mean, this is an exhibition in cruelty. To tell people who can't afford eggs, whose SNAP benefits you are taking away, to go buy a Tesla to support a multi-billionaire and his automotive baby. Y'all, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But here's what I do know. And there's an important story up now at The Nation. And if you're not a subscriber to The Nation, I think that they give you maybe one or two articles for free a month. And the one that I'm getting ready to show you as we pivot off of Donald Trump and his infomercial is onto the story of Mahmoud Khalil and the ICE abduction of this legal resident of the United States. So this is a piece that was written by Dima Khalidi. Mahmoud Khalil's abduction is a red alert for universities. Schools across America have a choice: defend their students against Trump or be complicit in his crimes. You know, I'm not joking when I said that this story is terrifying me and is really keeping me up, because as somebody who has made part of their career off of speaking truth to power, off of analyzing and questioning our government because it is my right to do so under our Constitution, the idea that I could come off of air and someone knock on my door and abduct me, throw me into a detention, never to be heard or seen from again, is where this is headed. And for those folks that say, well, Danielle, you're a citizen of the United States until I'm declared a terrorist. This is why this story isn't about Mahmoud Khalil's politics. It's not even about the issue that he was protesting. It is about the right thereof to do so, regardless of whether you agree or disagree. You still have the right to exercise your opinions. Because otherwise, folks, this is a dictatorship. And so for people who are like, oh, it's not a dictatorship, but it's okay that this man was abducted, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I want to go through a part of this piece. This is scenes from protests this week in New York, calling for the release of Mahmoud Khalil, who again broke no laws. Right? He broke no laws. Again, freedom of speech, freedom to protest means that if white supremacist groups have the ability to march down main streets of this country, which they've been doing, completely covered up, holding up their Nazi signs and Hail Hitler and all of these things, and that is literally their right to protest, and they can do so, then how is it that we allow that, but don't allow this? And I know the answer to this question, folks. It's rhetorical. But the fact is that if you believe in free speech and you believe in the right to protest, then you believe in it, period. But the ability of our government to designate whom they don't like as a terrorist and take away their legal status is not just for those with green cards or those that were naturalized. It can be for all of us, because that's what you're able to do when you declare somebody a terrorist and say that they have affiliations thereof, but show no proof whatsoever. Donald Trump said gleefully that ICE had detained Khalil and that he was going to be the first of many. This is what Dina wrote. Khalil's abduction, in its cruelty and unlawfulness, has horrified people around the country. Let us be clear. This is what fascism looks like, and it is part of a much broader campaign. And she goes through the piece in laying out multiple ways in which universities can and should be standing by their students and not acquiescing because of their desire to make money and hold on to federal grants, just giving up on our democracy and democratic protections. And she closes her piece by writing this. Ultimately, we can only protect democracy by enacting it, not by mirroring authoritarian tendencies. So to do all this and resist Trump's broader reactionary agenda requires rejecting the encroaching corporatization and centralization that has made universities politically and financially vulnerable to coercion. Embracing the democratic practices of shared governance would position them to withstand the unprecedented attacks and protect faculty and student rights. Because I want to speak about this, right? Whether it was South African apartheid, the Vietnam War, and other atrocious things that have happened in our country, it has always been students who have been the canaries in the coal mine, who began their activations and activism on their college campuses. We spoke yesterday, if you were here, about Kent State University and the May 1970 attacks by the National Guard that left 4 students dead because they rolled up on that college campus and opened fire. If you remember, Columbia University was the first university that began the protests and encampments to protest schools using these students' tuition to fund what has been referred to by the international courts as a genocide. What they were asking for was transparency in what their dollars are being used for, and to defund and disconnect from things that were antithetical to the mission and goals of these universities. But if you remember, folks, NYPD rolled up into that place, into the university where students had barricaded themselves inside, rolled up in there like they were rolling up on fucking Hamas. It was insane. Universities who are charging these absolutely I don't know how people afford to go to college, which is why the student debt crisis is where it is, and why Joe Biden, when he was president, tried to cancel said student debt, but Republicans and the Supreme Court said no. We'll cancel debt for banks. We'll cancel the fucking debt for airlines. But for students? Oh, absolutely not. They should suffer. Because you don't want to give young people what? Possibility? If they have their student debt relieved, then they have more options. But you see, the grind of capitalism combined with autocracy does not want you to have options. They want you to be optionless because you are easier to control. So what these institutions have decided, right, is not to uphold democratic values, not to protect their students whose money they are taking, but instead to bend the knee, to obey in advance, to do the duck and cover and the cover your own ass. The reason why, folks, that they found Khalil to begin with is because of the disgusting attacks that Colombia put on those students who are protesting. They kicked some of them out of school. They kicked some of them out of their housing. And they put them on lists that they might as well have fucking handed over to the Trump regime. So, folks, like, it's wild. It is wild. She goes on and ends her piece like this. As in past eras of domestic and global upheaval, students are the bellwether of undeniable political shifts. Universities should embrace their role as facilitators of those shifts rather than being the authors of their own ruin by serving as handmaidens of a Trumpian agenda. If they don't, we will only have them to blame for their complicity in the political persecution of Mahmoud Khalil and the many others being targeted for their political dissent. In America, we have the right to dissent. We have the right to critique our government and all governments. They are using Mahmoud Khalil because that conflict is so deep that the Democrats, right, will be more likely to side with Republicans and the Trump regime here than they will side with free speech. And to show you that in real fucking time, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley wrote a letter to Kristi Noem, dog killer, demanding for his release. She writes, Mahmoud Khalil should be at home with his pregnant wife. Instead, he's been illegally abducted and had his constitutional right to free speech and due process stripped. We're demanding his immediate release, and we cannot allow this abuse of power to go unchecked. Folks, count how many signatures you see here. 8. 8 Democrats signed on to this. 8. So you want to know where we are? Who is fighting for us? Because again, I do not care about Mahmoud Khalil's political ideology. I don't. He has a right to it regardless of what it is. Because if I were to take out Palestine and put in Black lives, the same would ring true. If I were to take out Palestine and put in Jewish people, the same would be true. Just replace Palestinian with any fucking group. If we do not stand up for those that are being persecuted by this fascist regime, they will come for us next. No one is safe here. No matter how much fucking decorum Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer want to pretend to have, no matter how silent that you want to be, it will not save you. And speaking of silence, because there are people who I wish would just shut the fuck up. And that would be one, Chuck Schumer. Because he finally got around to putting out a statement, folks, and I want you to hold on to your hats to listen to what this mealy-mouthed motherfucker said. I abhor many of the opinions and policies that Mahmoud Khalil holds and supports, and have made criticism of the anti-Semitic actions at Columbia loudly unknown. Where was it anti-Semitic? So any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. Anything that you utter against an oppressive apartheid state that happens to have occupants of it that are Jewish is anti-Semitic. Let me go on. Mr. Khalil is also legal permanent resident here, and his wife, who is 8 months pregnant, is an American citizen. Let me tell you that you should have fucking started there. While he may be in violation, and like, folks, I'm calling on the spirit, because the rage and the heat that I feel inside of my body right now, it's not a safe temperature. While he may be in violation of various campus rules regarding how protests were conducted last year, that is a matter for the university to pursue, and I have encouraged them to be much more robust in how they combat anti-Semitism and maintain a harassment-free campus that protects the safety and security of Jewish and other students. The Trump administration's DHS must articulate any criminal charges or facts that would justify his detention or the initiation of deportation proceedings against him. If the administration cannot prove he has violated any criminal law to justify taking this severe action and is doing it for the opinions he has expressed, then that is wrong. They are violating the First Amendment protections we all enjoy and should drop their wrong-headed action. Give me a fucking break, you spineless sack of shit. This man has been my senator for my entire life. And I am not young. He has offered absolutely nothing. But he has taken money from taxpayers to sit on his ass and drink scotch and pretend to be a Democrat. Maybe at one time, decades ago, Chuck Schumer mattered. But he does not now, and has not for quite some fucking time. As I said, I don't care what Mahmoud Khalil is protesting. I don't care what his ideology is. You have a right to protest and a right to assemble, and that action was violated for no other reason than they do not like what he is protesting. That is not criminal, but Chuck Schumer's response sure as fuck was. I tell you that Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer got to go. I was talking to my mother earlier today, who said to me, I am not giving Democrats not one more dime until they actually do something. Not a cent are they getting from me. And I know that my mother is not alone. That sentiment is felt millions of times over. That statement that Chuck Schumer put out was probably one of the most out of touch and dangerous statements. This is about freedom of speech and freedom to protest. That is it. And if you don't understand that, then you don't deserve to represent anyone in a governmental position. You don't, because you don't understand the oath of the Constitution that you swore to uphold and protect, as well as the constituents of your state. You don't get to just protect those who agree with you and those whom you like. That's not the fucking job. If you want that, then go lead a frat. Go be someplace where you can cherry pick and choose who comes in and who goes out. But if you are to be a senator or a representative of Congress, then what you like doesn't fucking matter. What matters is what is right. I tell you, testing my spirit today. Testing my spirit today. Not to be outdone by Chuck Schumer, the other piece of shit representative of New York City, Mayor Adams, you know, the crook, the grifter, the inarticulate doof. When asked again about a resident of his city, what are you going to do? His response is, what I'm finding surprising is the level of support y'all are displaying, but I didn't see that support for me. Didn't see that support for you? Because you a fucking criminal. Why would we show support to a criminal? Why would we show support to a man that is a step and fetch it for MAGA, that went down and tap danced before a white supremacist to get your get out of jail free card? Why, in God's name, would anyone in this city with any amount of sense be showing support for your criminal ass, who should have been put out on his ass by the governor? But because they're afraid of the optics of what it looks like for a white woman to fire a black man from his job. And my whole thing is like, if you're not doing the job, if you are a liability for the city, I don't care what color you are. Get the fuck out. Y'all, this is where we are. This is where we are. But also, this is also where we are. Yeah. My mic just dropped out because I slammed my fist down on the table. This is also where we are. Dow drops more than 450 points. S&P 500 posts back-to-back loss over Trump tariff uncertainty, and also the uncertainty of whether or not we're careening into a manufactured recession. Because that's really what this is. Because none of it had to happen. Again, Donald Trump inherited a healthy economy with high job growth numbers that he has sank in a matter of 7 weeks. I mean, there must be some type of award one gets for that. Maybe it's a Tesla. So I had to pull up this picture. Y'all, this is a trading room. I don't know where these men are, right? But you clearly see the cultism here, right? I'm like, is it a Trump showroom or is this where you work? You see the autographed picture of the scammer? The mind is lost. The mind is lost. Nonetheless, this is what is being said about our economy right now. Along with haphazard tariff moves, comments from the administration in recent days have stoked investors' fears about the economy. I only wish somebody had warned them. On Tuesday, Trump again appeared unperturbed because what the fuck does he care? By the stock market's recent slides. Markets are going to go up and they're going to go down. But you know what? We have to rebuild our country. Funny way of saying destroy it. So that's where we land there. The S&P was in the green at one point during the trading session before Trump declared on Truth Social that Canadian steel and aluminum duties would double to 50% from 25%, effective tomorrow. The president made the move in response to Ontario's premier Doug Ford's surcharge on electricity exported to the United States. Then one of his lackeys, Navarro, gets on CNBC and says, oh, no, we're not going to do a 50%. We're not going to double the tariffs. No, that's not going to happen. Didn't your boss, Donald Trump, say that earlier this morning? And you want to know why there is such instability and why there is such concern from investors? Because they don't know what is true and what is not. But like I said, manufacture crisis. That's what this is. Because those that have the money, right, look at this and they say, oh, these stocks are falling. We'll buy them all up and then it'll go back through the roof and we'll make money betting against the U.S. economy. That's where we are. But before we get into Town Hall Tuesday, just, another note. Why the dollar is having its worst year since 2008. Anybody remember what happened in 2008? And what it means for you. Well, here are the key takeaways from that. The US dollar has declined more than 4% since the start of the year. Mind you, we are in March. Okay. Its biggest drop over the period since 2008. When we had the housing crash and the automotive crash and, all the other economic crashes that came off of another Republican, Bush, that Obama inherited. Okay. Increasing recession risks have put interest rate cuts back on the table this year. Interest rates are one of the primary drivers of the U.S. dollar's value. A weaker dollar threatens to increase the cost of tariffs for consumers and businesses. It could also stimulate the economy by making U.S. goods and services less expensive for the rest of the world. So, just to put that in layman's terms, America will seem 50% off to healthier countries with better economies than it will for those that live here. Because our dollar isn't going to go as far. But if you are using, say, I don't know, the pound or the euro, right? America is like one giant thrift store. In all honesty, I tried to find good news today and I found none. I know I try not to end this show like this, but Lord, it's been a day. All right. Well, with that said, let's get into Town Hall Tuesday. For those of you who are new, You can write a question in the chat, all capital letters, question, and then a followed by your question. I will get to as many as I can in the next 15 minutes because I'm going to be honest, I need a drink. Like, I really do. All right. So let's get going. Question. Do you think the Dems will actually all stand against the horrendous No, I do not. I do not think that the Democrats will stand against this horrendous bullshit budget because there are going to be those, maybe like the 10 supposed moderates, who decided that they were going to throw their colleague, Representative Al Green, under the bus in order to side with Republicans. The thing about Democrats is that you can't actually trust all of them because these quote unquote moderates really function like Republicans. So, in order to seem like the supposed adults in the room, I can imagine that they will pass this budget, get nothing in return for it because they don't know how to actually play poker, play the game of politics whatsoever. And they show us that every single day. So those are my thoughts. Should we pull our cash from banks to put somewhere safe? Let me tell you something. I am not the person that you should be getting financial advice from, but I think that that is a wonderful question for a financial advisor to say, how do I protect myself in this moment, right? Because many people have 401ks or have their pensions that are made up of composite stocks, right? That you see increase in value or absolutely tank. We've seen this happen multiple times before. So again, I'm not an economist, not a financial advisor, but that is a wonderful question to get on the phone, right? With whoever is the holder of your retirement funds and ask them. And then if you do, come back and tell the rest of us. What's your preferred hard drink for refreshment? Such a good question. So right now, I am loving, the traditional daiquiris. So like a delicious, dark, aged rum, fresh lime juice, and just like shaken to perfection. Maybe a little simple syrup of some sort, but I don't like drinks that are sweet. Shaken to perfection, and served up or over nice crushed ice. This is where I am these days. It's like my coming out of winter, preparing for spring and summer vibe. Good question. Do you think Tesla will get a bailout? I mean, he's already bailing himself out with all of our money. So do I think that he'll get more? Absolutely. Because I think that's exactly why he bought the presidency to begin with, to cover his own ass. Knowing that. And by the way, again, a majority of electronic vehicles and Teslas are bought abroad, right? And they're the ones going completely off. You know who I love right now? The French. Because the French really know how to protest, because they set everything on fire. It is wild. But they broke into a Tesla dealership and they lit that whole shit up. And then you have folks in the UK. Some organization is changing out all of the signs on bus stops and they're putting in these SWAT stick cars and like all of these things. I mean, it is, the French, the European, they know how to do this. I love it so much. Question. Do you think Trump is intentionally hurting the Canadian economy in order to weaken them? Yes, I do. I absolutely do. And the thing about the Canadians is that, like, I don't know why Donald Trump and his sycophants think that they're like a bunch of like rollovers and are just going to like lay down and let that happen. You see how their patriotism is going through the roof and they're removing our products from the shelves and doubling down on buying Canadian, like the Canadian people are not just going to lay down and let anything happen. So Donald Trump should probably really think twice about it. But yes, this is a strategy. It is orchestrated despair and destruction, right? It is manufactured chaos. None of this has to be going down the way that it does at all. Also, Donald Trump was the one who renegotiated the trade deals in his first term between Canada and Mexico. Question, how do you measure your stress? By my lack of sleep. That's how I measure it. But to be honest, I try to work out regularly. I went for a long walk today, which was really good. Walking super helps me clear my mind, helps me just move my body, breathe in fresh air, feels really good. But that's how I try and rid myself of my stress. Good question. Question. So much criminality by the Trump regime, yet not one high-level whistleblower so far to my knowledge. Can anything be done to lure them out, offer safe off-ramps somehow? There have been some whistleblowers inside of, I think, the Department of Treasury and Health and Human Services. But again, this administration is going to pursue legal action against them, even though we have the Whistleblower Act. Like, they are not abiding by the rule of law. So, people risk not only losing their jobs, right? Health insurance, their livelihood, or what have you, but they also risk being doxxed. So, they're how do we as a people create a safe off ramps? That I do not know. Did you hear anything about AOC going on tour with Bernie in upcoming events? No, I did not. Is that true? That would be great, because like I said yesterday, if you all were here, I said that many Democrats should be taking a page out of Bernie Sanders' books, because his events are wildly popular. People are attending them en masse. And I think that that would be a fantastic duo to go on the road. Next question. Should the Democratic base en masse change their affiliation to unaffiliated or independent to send congressional Democrats a loud message? I have heard of people that are doing that, individually en masse. I think, why not? In all honesty, like, what are we losing? Like, what are we gaining with this affiliation right now? We're not gaining anything. Question. Do you think the end of Cold War politics left the Democrats unprepared for a neoliberal world? I think that the Democrats have consistently just been unprepared. I believe that they follow rule books that have never existed. And while this Republican iteration of the Republican Party is using, new social media tools and created their own media echo chamber and ecosystem, I do believe that Democrats are routinely unprepared. And it just shows you every single time they were unprepared during Bush. Right? The Bushes, both of them, right? So this to me is not news. It's just this time it's just a lot more dangerous. You can go past. Do you think anyone in Congress will investigate Dump saying, oh, okay. So this is interesting. So I saw this clip yesterday, right? Which was Donald Trump during the meeting with the FIFA president, because the World Cup is coming to the Americas, saying that, like in one we signed this deal to get, the World Cup, and then I may not be president, but then they rigged the election and here I am as president. No, I don't think that anyone is going to investigate it. And I've said this before. I believe that if Democrats even knew or believed that there was a tampering with this election, which I don't know why you wouldn't think so, that they wouldn't say anything, because they're all about preserving institution. That's what they care about over everything else. Let's look. Do you think we're going to have another civil war? Yes, I do. And I'm not being hyperbolic. This is a good question. I do not know. Is there a way to donate to Mahmoud's legal fees? That I do not know. I think that I will look into that and see if there are GoFundMes, or see if his lawyers have put anything up. But this has all happened so quickly, so I don't know. They say that also they say that he's in Louisiana. I don't know if that is 100, if they know 100% where exactly he is. Question: what role do you think protesting plays in our ability to resist during this administration? To be honest, I'm nervous that if people hit the streets, then our rights will be violated too. Look, I said this, and I'll keep saying it. I think that protest matters. I think that showing up, I think that what people are doing at Tesla, I think that what people are doing at their state capitals, what they're doing at town halls, matters, right? We need to be exercising our right to protest and doing so in mass. I will say this again. I do not think that Black and brown people, that this is our time. I do believe that Donald Trump is waiting for Black and brown people to show up in mass so that they can roll out the heavy artillery and just start killing a bunch of people. And so I do believe that for white folks, this is your moment to be on the front lines, to be the first ones out there, because your lives matter and will be spared, right? And so I say to Black and brown people, this is not our time, because they are wanting to use our bodies, right, as a battering ram. And I'm not willing to, and I do not think that Black and brown people should be willing to do that at this time. But the organizations that we are seeing, the mass protests that we are seeing, largely are being done by white folks. And I think that that is fantastic. But you do have to recognize that if you are going out, that you are taking a risk. That is facts. But to not just allows this to happen and go forth quietly. And that I think that we cannot do. Let's see. We're coming to the last question or two. Question: if you were Medicare / Social Security ready, would you pursue or let it slide under the current administration? Great question. This I do not know the answer to. I think that I would say pursue it if you are at the age for that, to try and get it now, because I don't know what will happen. Elon Musk said in an interview, oh, these are entitlements and they should go away. No, it's our money that we are getting back as you age. So if you are able to, I think that you should start to draw down. But again, not an expert in this. That is a question for those that are experts in this area. I'm going to take one last question. Looking. Ugh. See? Breaking news. House passes funding bill. Susan, do we know how many Democrats voted for it, or did it just pass along party lines? Because that I can't follow, and I won't see until I come off air. But again, here's information for peaceful protests that are taking place all around. 5050.1. There's also Indivisible. great to figure out what is happening in your area. So I think that you can always check what is going on. And yes, the bill still does need to pass in the Senate, but I mean, they control the Senate, so I can't see why it wouldn't pass. What I will say for folks as we close out here today, to check out, to really seriously, I appreciate one of the questions that was asked about what people should do to protect their finances. If you have your retirement funds somewhere, call your financial advisors, ask them for their advice. Because what do I do during volatile times? How can I best protect myself? Is there a way to best protect myself? Just ask the questions and see what answers come back to you. But that is it for me today, dear friends. Thank you so much to the moderators. We have the best moderators, Susan and Deb, that hold down this show Monday through Thursday, as well as Democracy-ish, as well as holding down Mary's channel as well. You guys are so awesome, and I really, really genuinely appreciate you. I will be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you have not liked, commented, or subscribed, please do, and help the algorithm get this show and this channel into more people's feeds. We are ticking our way towards 20,000. So every like, every comment, and every subscription matters. Appreciate each and every single one of you. Please take care of yourselves. As always, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will see you back here, 5 p.m. Eastern. Be well. And yes, Jules, let's hope 25,000 by Memorial Day. What a goal. I love that. Appreciate you all.